For years. For years this girl saved, and suffered, and planned. And for what? To hand it all to my daughter on a plate. God is good to me. In the dim early morning light, Mama Rita lifted the file in front of her face like a trophy. The acceptance letter. The plane ticket. Every single sheet of paper Amaka had poured 4 years of sweat into, now sitting neatly in the hands of a woman who had never sweated for any of it. Mommy, is it real? Is it actually there? Vivian ran to her, eyes bright. Let me see. Let me see it. Come and collect your future, my daughter. Your ticket is ready. Mama Rita smiled. Your flight is tomorrow morning. But, what about Amaka? What if she wakes up? What do we tell her? Tell her? We tell her nothing. By the time she wakes up, you will be at the airport, and I will be in the parlor drinking my tea. What is done is done. Amaka had spent 4 years building that ticket out of a stolen future. They took it in 30 seconds. But there was one thing they did not know. What fate has set aside for a person cannot be stolen. It can only be delayed. This is the story of Amaka. They can take a piece of paper from you. But no one can take your hands, your mind, and the person you have become. Because there are some things that, once they live inside you, fire cannot burn, thieves cannot carry away, and time cannot erase. If stories like this give you strength, subscribe and turn on notifications, so you never miss the next lesson. Now, let us begin. The sun had not yet decided whether to rise, when Amaka was already on her feet. In Chief Daniel's compound, it had always been this way. The roosters crowed, the dogs stirred, and Amaka moved. She would fold her wrapper neatly, splash cold water on her face, from the bucket by the door, then sweep the compound, fetch water from the tap at the junction, before the queue grew long, and start the fire for the morning porridge, before anyone else had opened their eyes. She did all of it quietly. That was the thing people noticed most about Amaka, not just what she did, but how she did it. Without noise. Without waiting for praise. Her mother had died when she was 9. A short illness, that came in the rainy season, and did not leave. But her mother left her one thing, an old notebook, its leather cover worn soft, in which she had carefully written down every recipe for caring for hair, and skin with herbs, the trade she had once used to feed the whole family. Shea butter oil. A rinse brewed from leaves. Herbal powders folded into honey. To a stranger, it was just a book of scribbles. To Amaka, it was her mother's voice, still here on earth. She still remembered the evenings, before the illness, sitting between her mother's knees on the floor, while her mother worked shea butter, through her hair, with slow, patient fingers. Feel it, Amaka, her mother would say, guiding her small hands into the warm cream. Your hands will always tell you the truth, if you learn to listen to them. A lazy hand lies. A careful hand never does. Amaka had been too young then to understand it, as anything more than a nice thing her mother said. She would understand it fully only years later, in a season her mother would not live to see. But the word stayed in her, the way a seed stays in the ground, through a long dry season, waiting. Her father, Chief Daniel, loved his children, but was terrified of conflict down to his bones. So 3 years after Amaka's mother died, when he married Mama Rita, a widow, from the next town, who came with a daughter of her own, he told himself he was giving Amaka a mother. What he gave her, without knowing it, was a lesson in survival. Mama Rita was not the kind of woman who beat children. She was smarter than that. She used words, carefully chosen, quietly delivered, always deniable. One morning, when Amaka had just finished mopping the parlor floor, Mama Rita walked in, looked down at the tiles, and sighed. Amaka, you left the corners again. I will do them again, Ma. Girls your age are learning useful skills, building something. And you are sweeping like a house girl. Yes, Ma. I don't know what kind of future a girl like you expects. I'm only saying. She never stayed to hear a reply. That was her method. Drop the stone, and walk away, before the ripple can spread. Vivian, Mama Rita's daughter, was an entirely different kind of person. Pretty in the way that made people forgive her for things. Loud, warm, always laughing in a way that filled whatever room she entered. She borrowed things and forgot to return them. She had started learning hairdressing twice, and quit both times. She had a boyfriend in the next city, who sent her recharge cards, and she spent the money, before it could cool in her hand. The two girls shared a room. At night, Vivian would talk about abroad, about Dubai, about Johannesburg, about how Nigeria was not made for serious people. Amaka, I have to leave this country. I'm serious. You're not hearing me. Anywhere that is not here. And you have nothing to say? Then work toward it. Work, work, work. That's all you know. As if life is only about working. Amaka closed her mother's notebook, switched off her little reading torch, and lay down. In her own mind, she was already building her plan, quietly, the way she did everything. Amaka had been trading since she was 15. Tomatoes and pepper first, then fabric from the big market. But her real passion was her mother's notebook. At night, when the work was done, she mixed the recipes inside it, improving them, writing down the results. She made hair oils. She made herbal soap. She made skin cream from shea butter. She sold to the women in the compound, then the streets nearby. Hair that used her oils grew thicker, shinier. Skin grew smoother. Word spread. She kept her money in a brown envelope, hidden inside her mother's notebook itself. Not because she was hiding it, but because that envelope was the only place in that house where something of hers could stay safe. She quietly did a computer course, a bookkeeping course. She told no one. She just did them, before sunrise, between markets, after the cooking was done. The community noticed. That was the part Mama Rita could not control. One afternoon, Mama Tun stopped her at the tap. Amaka, how is business? It's fine, Ma. Small, but steady. I was telling my husband just yesterday that Amaka girl carries herself well. Respectful. Hardworking. Your mother trained you well, before God took her. God sees you, my child. Just keep going. Words like that always found their way back to Mama Rita, and every compliment the compound gave Amaka landed in her ears like a quiet insult, because the child everyone praised was not hers. That evening, at dinner, Chief Daniel mentioned that one of the elders had spoken well of Amaka at their meeting. He said it the way men deliver good news, casually, without understanding what it cost the women listening. He says she has good character. That people speak well of her. A silence settled over the table. Mama Rita smiled the practiced smile she kept for public moments. Yes. Amaka tries. Just that. Amaka tries. Not we are proud. Not she is doing well. Only enough to seem agreeable, and not one word more. Amaka ate quietly and said nothing. Chief Daniel saw that his house was clean, and there was food on the table, and told himself things were in order. He did not see the way Mama Rita spoke when he left the room. He did not see how, over the years, Amaka's portion of food had quietly grown smaller than everyone else's, and how Amaka had learned to eat slowly, so no one would notice she had less. A father who avoids conflict does not keep the peace. He only delays the war. One evening near dusk, Amaka sat outside on a low stool, filling small jars, with a new batch of hair cream by the last orange light of the day. The generator had not come on, so she used the dusk. Vivian leaned in the doorway, watching her. You and this you're mixing. As if that is what will carry you anywhere. Vivian, I'm concentrating. I'm only saying. You work and work, for what? Some of us have bigger plans. Good. Pursue them. You think you're better than me? I don't think anything about you, Vivian. I'm just trying to build my own life. Vivian was quiet for a moment. Then, softly, almost to herself, "We will see whose life goes further." Amaka moved her stool 2 inches closer to the last of the light, and kept filling her jars. She did not know yet what was coming. She did not know that the same family she held together, without being asked, would soon be the hands that undid her. But she kept working, quietly, steadily, the way she always did. The opportunity came, through a regular customer, who bought Amaka's hair oil. The woman worked for a non-profit, and she told Amaka about a scholarship program, a private fund, that fully sponsored young women entrepreneurs, with real skills, sending them to a beauty and business academy in Cape Town, South Africa, for 1 year, to learn the craft, learn management, and return with capital to build a brand. "You have talent, Amaka," she said. "You should try." And Amaka tried. For years. For years of filling in forms she did not fully understand, then going back to fill them again. For years of gathering every document they asked for, bank statements, letters of recommendation, proof of business, product photographs. For years of carrying samples of her oils and creams through 3 rounds of interviews, presenting her mother's notebook, her dream of an herbal cosmetics brand that would carry her own name. And she kept it all in a brown envelope, guarding it the way some people guard their own lives. Because to her, it was her life. When the acceptance letter came, she read it 4 times, before she allowed herself to cry. Then she made a mistake. She brought the good news home. Not because she was careless, but because Chief Daniel's compound was still her home, and she still believed, even after everything, that good news belonged to family. She told her father first. "Papa, my scholarship came through. The program I told you about. I've been accepted." Chief Daniel looked up, his eyes warm. "Amaka, this is a good thing. A very good thing. For years, Papa. I have been working toward this for 4 years. Your mother would have been so proud." She held those words close. Mama Rita appeared in the doorway. She had been listening. "What is happening? What letter is that?" "Amaka's scholarship has been approved. She's traveling." "Is that so? Congratulations, Amaka." Amaka should have noticed the smile did not reach her eyes. But she was too happy to notice. What Amaka did not know was that very night, Mama Rita went to a man named Mr. Kola, the broker, who sat at the middle of the program's process, the kind of man whose principles bent easily under money. She gave him an envelope of cash, and he agreed to do the thing men like him do: swap the file, change the photograph, adjust a few lines, so that Vivian could step onto that flight in Amaka's place. That night, Amaka kept the envelope under her pillow. By morning, it was gone. She searched the floor. She searched the mat. She pulled everything off the bed, shook out every fold of wrapper, searched the room 3 times, with shaking hands, before the truth arrived, quietly and completely. Vivian's side of the room was empty. Vivian's bag was gone. Amaka ran. She ran to her father's room. She ran to the gate. She ran to Mama Rita, who sat calmly in the parlor drinking tea, both hands around the cup, entirely unbothered. "Where is Vivian? Where are my documents? Mama Rita, where is Vivian? Lower your voice in this house. My envelope is gone. My scholarship, everything I worked for, it is gone. Vivian has traveled. That is all I know." Traveled without a word? Traveled with my documents, with my scholarship. You did this. You gave it to her. You gave. Mama Rita rose, her voice dropping to something cold. "Watch your mouth. This is your father's house, not a market." "Papa. Papa, come out here. What has happened?" Chief Daniel appeared. She told him everything. The missing envelope, the empty room, Vivian's disappearance. He listened. Then he looked at his wife. "Mama Rita. Do you know anything about this?" Me? I know that this girl has been jealous of my daughter from the beginning. Vivian got her own opportunity and traveled. Why must everything be about Amaka? Are you sure the documents were there last night? Papa, I kept them under my pillow. I'm sure. Or perhaps you misplaced them, and you want to blame my daughter for your own carelessness. Chief Daniel said nothing more. That silence was its own answer. The whole compound heard. Compounds always do. By afternoon, the story had changed shape in the mouths of the neighbors. By evening, it had traveled to the next street. That Amaka girl, she should have kept her business to herself. Old Benson shook his head at the gate. You don't bring a scholarship into a house full of jealous people. No one would do anything. That night, Amaka sat alone outside, with nothing in her hands. No needle and thread, no notebook, no plan. Just the enormous, silent weight of a future stolen in the dark. She could have screamed. She could have broken something. She could have gone to the police, to the elders, to anyone who would listen. But she already knew how that would end. She had seen how the compound looked at her, that day, with pity that quickly turned to distance. No one wants to stand near a girl the universe seems to be punishing. So she sat there, and she made herself one quiet promise. This will not be the end of my story. She did not say it loudly. She did not say it to anyone. She said it to herself, in the dark, the way people make the promises that actually hold. Then she went inside, lay down on her mat, and stared at the ceiling, until sleep finally took her. Tomorrow, she would begin again from nothing. Nobody claps for a person starting over. That is the part they never tell you. The day Amaka packed her small bag, and left Chief Daniel's compound, no one stopped her. Her father stood at the doorframe, with the expression of a man who knew he had failed, but could not find the words to say so. Mama Rita watched from the window. Amaka did not look back. She still had one thing they could not take. Before she left, she had recovered her mother's notebook. They had dropped the envelope, after pulling out the documents, and the notebook was still there. The thieves only saw value in the ticket. They did not know that the most precious thing always sits where they never think to look. She moved into a single room in a shared compound off a busy road. The room had one window, a ceiling that complained whenever it rained, and a landlady named Mama Sola, who had seen enough of life to mind her own business. She had a little money left, not much, enough to buy time, not comfort. She started with what her hands already knew. She got a job at a hair and beauty shop on Textile Mill Road, not as the entrepreneur she had been building herself into, but as an assistant, sweeping cut hair, washing customers' hair, handing combs to the stylists, who owned the chairs. Her first week, she earned enough for 1 bag of rice, and 3 days of transport. But the shop's owner, a solid woman named Mama Ronk, watched how she worked. She saw Amaka mix a small batch of hair oil for a customer, from just a few cheap ingredients, and saw the customer's hair come alive afterward. Where did you learn this? I taught myself, Ma. From a notebook my mother left me. Mama Ronk picked up the little bottle, turning it in the light. Your hands know how to talk. Sit down. I will teach you the rest. That was the first door. In the weeks that followed, Mama Ronk taught her the things a notebook could not. How to measure, so that every batch came out the same. How to read a customer's hair and skin the way some people read faces, quickly, accurately, with confidence. Which oils calmed, and which oils only sat on the surface and lied. How to make something, from almost nothing, and make it look intentional. And Amaka, in return, gave Mama Ronk's shop something it had never had, the recipes from her mother's notebook, the ones that made women come back and ask, "What did you put in my hair?" It has never behaved like this. Some mornings Amaka arrived, before Mama Ronk herself, sweeping the floor, and lighting the burner, not because anyone asked, but because a shop that gave her a chance deserved her best hours, not her leftover ones. The mockery came from people she had not expected. Not strangers, neighbors, people from the old compound, women who had praised her at the water tap. One afternoon at the market, she heard them, while pricing a bottle of essential oil. "You see that Amaka girl? The one standing there. She used to form big girl scholarship and abroad. Now look, buying oil drop by drop. Life has taught her a lesson." Amaka kept her eyes on the oil. She asked the price. She paid. She left. She took the long way home, so no one would see her face, until she had arranged it back into something steady. Meanwhile, in Cape Town, Vivian was discovering something no one had warned her about. Opportunity without preparation is a heavy thing to carry. She had landed, with Amaka's documents, Amaka's name on the program, and none of Amaka's discipline. The structure of the program, the schedules, the accountability, the early mornings, the required work, the practical sessions, that demanded real, trained hands, felt to Vivian like a punishment. Because the talent in that file had never been hers. She began skipping sessions. Only a few months in, she was quietly removed from the program. She did not call home to say so. She told her mother everything was fine. She found a room with 3 other girls, and began to survive the way people survive, when they have burned the very structure that was meant to hold them up, one difficult day at a time, with nothing growing underneath. The money meant for her upkeep went in directions that had nothing to do with upkeep, and then it was simply gone. She had wanted the destination so badly that she had never once asked whether she could carry the journey. Now she knew, and there was no one to tell. But that was happening far away. Amaka did not know. And she had no time to wonder. She was too busy building. Mama Ronk taught her how to blend ingredients properly, how to preserve a product so it would not spoil, how to price for real profit. And Amaka brought to the shop what Mama Ronk did not have, the recipes from her mother's notebook, refined over countless nights. Before long, customers began asking specifically for the hair oil made by the new girl. They were not asking for Mama Ronk. They were asking for Amaka. After nearly a year, one morning before the shop opened, Mama Ronk called her in. "I have a big customer. She needs a set of hair care products for all the women in the family for her daughter's engagement, 12 sets, hand-mixed, beautifully packaged. I want to give it to you. I will supervise, but you will lead it. Can you do it?" "Yes, Ma. I can do it." "Good. Don't let your hands lie to me." Her hands did not lie. The 12 sets were delivered on time, beautifully packaged, carrying the soft scent of shea butter and herbs. The customer photographed every one. She posted them. She tagged the shop. By the end of that week, 3 new customers walked through Mama Ronk's door asking for the girl who made the engagement sets. Amaka did not celebrate loudly. She went home to her small room, sat on the edge of her bed, and allowed herself one quiet moment of something that felt like proof. This is working. Then she picked up her notebook and planned the next day. But this time, Amaka did something the girl of 4 years ago had not known how to do. She remembered the night the envelope disappeared. She remembered how powerless she had been, because everything had lived on a single sheet of paper that anyone could take. So she went to the business and intellectual property registry. She officially registered her brand, the name she had chosen, Amaka Naturals. She registered protection for the unique formulas she had developed from her mother's notebook. People can copy a product, the officer told her. But once you have registered this name, and these formulas in your name, then by law, they are yours. No one is allowed to take them again. Amaka nodded, her eyes growing hot. The last time, they had taken her future simply because it lived on a piece of paper in her hand. This time, she made sure that what she built was locked down, by her hands, by her mind, and by the law. A thief can take a piece of paper. But they can never take a name that already belongs to you, and a formula that lives inside your own head. The night she registered the brand, Amaka sat with her mother's notebook open on her knees, running her thumb over the faded ink. She thought about the small hands her mother had once guided into warm shea butter, about the words she had been too young to understand. Your hands will always tell you the truth. She had listened. And now her mother's recipes, her mother's voice, would live on in a name the world would come to know. Whatever had been stolen from her, this could never be. She had made sure of it. 6 years is a long time. Long enough for a city to forget what it once said about you. Long enough for the women who whispered at the market to one day need something from you. Long enough for a name once spoken, with pity to be spoken, with a completely different weight. Amaka's shop now stood on a main road. A real shop, not a table, not a borrowed corner of someone else's space. Her name was on the sign outside, in clean black letters, Amaka Naturals. On the shelves sat her own branded product lines, shipping everywhere, with orders coming in even from abroad. She had 3 girls working under her. She had a waiting list. She had suppliers, who called her, instead of her calling them. She had built it all the same way she built everything. Quietly. Completely. Without asking anyone's permission. Mama Rank had come to the shop's opening, sitting in the front row of plastic chairs, with the calm of a woman, who had known this was coming long, before anyone else. Do you remember what I told you, that first day? Don't let your hands lie to me. Your hands never lied, not once. I am proud of you, my daughter. Vivian came back on a Tuesday. No announcement, no phone call ahead. Just a taxi that stopped at the old compound. A single bag and a face that had aged in ways that had nothing to do with years. Cape Town had not been kind to her. When the program ended, the program she had never been qualified to keep, she had spent nearly 3 more years trying to hold herself together in a place, with no particular interest in helping her. She worked small jobs. She moved rooms 3 times. She carried the quiet shame of someone living a life that was never meant to be hers. She came home empty, and she knew it. Mama Rita had aged too. The compound somehow looked smaller. Chief Daniel moved slowly now, his knees troubling him. Within a week of Vivian's return, the money troubles became clear. The compound had been running on very little. Mama Rita had debts she had been managing, with pride and silence. Now, with Vivian home, and nothing coming in, that silence was becoming harder to keep. It was Mama Rita who made the decision. It cost her more than she expected. They came on a Saturday morning. Amaka was at the shop reviewing fabric orders, with one of her girls, when she heard the knock. She looked up. Mama Rita stood at the door of the shop. Vivian stood slightly behind her, smaller than Amaka remembered, eyes cast down, hands folded in front of her like someone waiting for a verdict. Amaka set down her papers. She did not move toward them. She did not move away. Amaka. We have come to see you. I can see that. Sit down. Amaka remained standing, not to dominate, but because her hands needed something to do. Mama Rita looked slowly around the shop. The sign. The shelves of products. The 3 workstations. The framed receipt on the wall, the very first order Amaka had ever completed on her own. Something moved across Mama Rita's face. It was not quite guilt. It was the expression of a woman doing arithmetic she did not like the answer to. You have done well for yourself. Thank you. We are not in a good position at the moment. Things have been hard. Vivian is back, and we need some help. Financially. Just to get back on our feet. The shop was quiet. Outside, the road moved, motorbikes, music from a nearby store, a woman calling out fabric prices, life continuing as it always did. Amaka looked at Mama Rita, then at Vivian, who had not raised her eyes once. Then she looked at the framed receipt on the wall. She thought about the brown envelope under her pillow, the morning she woke, and it was gone. Her father's silence. The compound women, and their whispers at the market. The single room with the complaining ceiling. The night she sat alone outside, with nothing in her hands. She thought about all of it. And then she let it go. Not for them, for herself. Because she had learned, in 6 hard years, that bitterness is the only prison you build, and then also agree to live inside. She pulled a chair, and sat across from them. Her voice, when it came, was calm and clear. I am not going to give you money. Mama Rita's jaw tightened. Not because I cannot. But because that is not what any of us truly needs, from this moment. So you want to humiliate us? After everything, I did not invite you here, Ma. You came. And I am speaking to you, with more respect than this moment requires. Please, hear me. What was done to me was wrong. You know it, I know it, the whole compound knows it. But that is not why I built this place. And I will not write a check over it either, as, if money could fold it up, and put it away. Amaka. Vivian's voice, barely a whisper, still not looking up. I'm sorry. The shop held that sentence for a long moment. Amaka looked at her stepsister fully for the first time, since they had sat down. I know you are, Vivian. Vivian's eyes finally rose, red-rimmed. I didn't, it wasn't supposed to. It doesn't matter now. What is done, and you have already lived the consequence of it. I don't need to add to that. She stood, smoothed her fabric, walked to the door, and held it open, not in anger, but with the quiet, unmistakable energy of a woman, who knew exactly where her boundaries were, and had paid for every one of them. I genuinely hope things get better for your family. But I cannot be the one to fix it. That chapter is closed. Mama Rita walked out first. Vivian followed. At the door, Vivian stopped and turned, one last look at Amaka, at the shop, at the name on the sign outside. Then she walked away. Amaka stood alone in her shop for a moment. No anger, no tears, not even relief. Just the deep, settled stillness of a woman, who had walked through fire and come out the other side, knowing exactly who she was. She went back to her orders. She picked up her pen. She kept working. The way she always had, and the way she always would. I tell you Amaka's story not, so you will hate anyone. I tell it to remind you of one thing: people can take an opportunity, from you, a piece of paper, even a future, if you leave it, where another person's hand can reach it. So lock down what belongs to you. With the skill in your hands. With the knowledge in your mind. And, when you are wise enough to know it, with legal papers in your own name. Because there are some things that, once they become part of who you are, a craft, a name you built yourself, a dignity you held, through fire, no thief can carry away, no whisper can erase, and no betrayal can bury. And if someone ever steals the thing you spent years sweating to build, remember Amaka. Make yourself that quiet promise in the dark, the one you don't need to say out loud: this will not be the end of my story. Remember this, my friend: what fate has set aside for you cannot be stolen, it can only be delayed. And one day, the very hands that tried to steal your future will knock on your door, not to take more, but to see what you built, from the ashes they left behind. This has been Chi Chi Tales. Until the next story, walk in wisdom.